Keir Starmer's prison system. That's what I'm talking about in this episode. I'm going to talk about how fucked up the prison system actually is and how Keir Starmer is making things worse. So the UK prison system is at maximum capacity. There's less than 100 spaces left, and they've come up with emergency plans on how to resolve the overcrowding crisis. Now, as a lot of you know, what they've been doing is letting out prisoners early to try and ease this overcrowding. Now, this was an issue before the protests, and the protesters have been fast-tracked, as you all know, through the system, and within 1 week they're in the courts and they're sentenced. They've been either found, well, most of them have pled guilty because they were banned their rights, because they were, through their own stupidity, blatantly on cameras, doing these daft acts and getting themselves put in prison. But a lot of them, as you well know as well, are the ones that have been at home on the keyboards, putting statements on. They've also been fast-tracked through the system, and they've been sentenced within a week to 2 weeks. And that has done nothing but blog the system up even more. So Keir Starmer wanted to make an example of these protesters. And like I mentioned, he wanted to fast track them, to show to the public this is what's going to happen if you go out and protest, or you go out and take the protesting too far and start rioting. But the overcrowding was a problem before all of this, because if you have a look back, I've done a video a few months back about the overcrowding crisis. Now, there is ways they could have went around this to try to resolve it where it wouldn't have escalated to the point where it's at now, and they could have eased the overcrowding. But like I've mentioned in previous videos, they've went about it the wrong way in my own opinion, and they're letting out the type of offenders that are going to be getting recalled within a week, which is happening. The majority of these offenders that are being released early are re-offending within a week and being recalled straight back to prison and blocking the system up even more. But there's been hundreds of protesters/rioters that have been sentenced to prison. So when there was 500 spaces left a few months ago, them spaces got filled up straight away with the rioters, and then the ones that were released early were recalled within a matter of days, even a week, or within the week rather, and the system was blocked up even more. So what they were doing with the early release scheme, it was half of your sentence, then they went down to 40%. Once you've served 40% of your sentence, you will be released under the early release scheme. But this didn't involve S offenders and violent offenders. So now what they're introducing is releasing the S offenders after serving 40% of the sentence. Something they said they wouldn't do because of the type of offender and the type of the offences that they committed. So now what you're going to be having is, and there is, when I looked up on this, read a few different articles, there is someone from the head of probation who isn't being named speaking up about this and saying that releasing these offenders who have got 4 to 6 months left on the sentence, letting them out 6 months early, some of them 4 months early, depending on how much is left on their sentence, is putting the public at risk, because this isn't giving the probation enough time to put in a plan so that these offenders can be monitored properly and can be deemed safe or deemed fit for release. Because S offenders are different to any other type of offender, as in they commit their criminal offences in a different way to what you would class an ordinary criminal or an ordinary crime. Ordinary crimes is what people are getting sent to prison for all the time, but an S offender, as you well know, think differently to any normal person. They commit their crimes through their lewd thinking, and, well, I don't have to go into details. You all know what these type of offenders do. So this probation specialist has come forward, obviously, like I mentioned, that doesn't want to be named, and said that Keir Starmer, with this release plan, is putting the public safety at risk, because these type of offenders need to have specialist plans put in place to prevent them from committing further acts of S offences. So that is what is going to be putting the public at risk, these type of offenders getting released. The ones that were told that they didn't fit suitability for the early release scheme. But like I've mentioned previously as well, if they want to sort this overcrowding out in the prison system, they need to be looking at the longer term prisoners, the ones that have been in over 5, 6, 7 years, and their main objective is to get out of prison and stay out of prison. Obviously, there's risk assessments in prison. There's wing reports of officers. It's called a P16. This is where reports get written up about the prisoners every week of their POs, which is a personal officer. And these are the ones that get to know the inmates and get a bit of an idea about what the prisoner is about and whether or not they think that prisoner will re-offend. So this is what they need to be looking at. Getting all these type of risk assessments, seeing what this prisoner is all about, and seeing if these officers think this prisoner is rehabilitated and fit for release. I mean, these ones that served a long time like that, they've got a long time on licence when they're released as well. So they can't see whether or not these inmates will be suitable for release. And these are the ones they need to be looking at releasing, the ones that have rehabilitated and they know that they won't be back straight away. And not forgetting the IPPs. There's 3,500 IPPs in prison that should, well, the majority of them should no longer be in there. Obviously, there is the ones that are very dangerous, that can't be released, and a lot of them are S offenders, and they can't just release these type of offenders straight back into the community because there is some dangerous predators amongst these IPPs. But there is a staggering amount that haven't committed any further offences. They've been breached or recalled on minor things. They've never committed an offence as such, but they've missed appointments and they haven't complied with some of the licence conditions. But they no longer pose a risk to the public like the ones that they're releasing do. These have, like I've mentioned, have committed no further offences, and the ones that haven't been released just haven't been able to comply with the prison system, and a lot of them are suffering with the mental health. So the ones that are suffering with the mental health that need help, get them out of the prison system, free up the spaces, and get them in somewhere where they can get medical or mental health attention, get some sort of support, rather than locking them in a cage or locking them in that pad for 23 and a half hours a day with no help whatsoever and driving these to suicide. So these are the type of plans that they need to be putting in place to get these offenders help and get the ones released that should be released, instead of letting the ones that are just going to be committing offences within days of being released. A lot of them are habitual drug users, and as soon as they're out, they're straight back at it. Then they're going to commit crimes to get the money to pay for the drugs, and they're straight back in within a matter of days. And what is that going to do to the prison system? All the ones that they're freeing are coming straight back in and blocking the system up to maximum capacity. But when I've been looking at statistics as well about the prison system, 10% of the prison system is made up of foreign nationals. So 10% is well over 10,000 prisoners of foreign nationals. But when I say foreign nationals, I mean they're not from this country. They've come over to the country. Some of them are illegals. Not all of them are. Obviously, a lot of them have come over when that EU, I forget what it was, where they opened up the borders to everyone in the Europe, so you could come and you could move freely in all of these countries. You didn't have to get like a visa like they have to now. And a lot of them are coming from other European countries, and they've come here, committed crimes, and again went inside the prison system. But these are blocking up the prison system as well. So that needs to be addressed also to reduce the numbers inside of prison. But again, the prison system has been like this for years on end, coming up to maximum capacity. Then the numbers sort of fizzle out a little bit, and it's always working at around about 80,000 prisoners, and the maximum capacity is around about 85,000, something along them lines. But they need to be building bigger prisons, more modern prisons, and more prison spaces. The country is becoming overcrowded with the amount of immigrants that are coming into the country. So if the capacity of the population is getting bigger, it only makes sense to make the prison population bigger. So those are the things that I would be doing or advising to get the prison population sorted out. But Keir Starmer is going around this the totally wrong way, which is just making the prison population even bigger instead of, as he is trying to do, resolve it by reducing the prison estate by letting these prisoners out early. But all he's doing is putting the public at risk and putting everybody else at risk and making the prisons a more dangerous and volatile place. But I just thought I would bring that to your attention, people, because the more I'm reading up on this, the more it's getting dealt with the wrong way. And as you can imagine, the victims of these S offenders, and all the other offenders for that matter, but more so the S offenders because of what they've been through emotionally, they will be feeling betrayed by the government who was letting these offenders out early when these are the type of offenders that were told didn't fit the early release scheme. But I'll leave that one there for now, people. But if you are enjoying the content, remember to comment, like and subscribe. But if you're not subscribed, go down and hit that button, because when I had a check on me analytics last night, a staggering 80% of my viewers are still not subscribed to my channel. So if all them viewers were hitting the subscribe button, the channel will be well over 100,000, and that is my next goal. So please go down, double check, and if you're not subscribed, hit that button. It doesn't cost you a penny. I'll leave that one there for now, people. Hopefully you enjoyed that. Take care.